So, in conversation with us are two women that I am in complete awe of and delighted to share this frame with. Additional General of Police Anju Gupta from UP is everything I had listed in my introduction and so much more. But what completely took me and my team by surprise was the candor, humor, and empathy that she carries alongside this huge responsibility, which is born with immense grace. And then there is Nandita Das, actor, director, artist, but for me, firstly, a humanitarian, and one of those who has always spoken her mind through her art again and again and again. And whether it was Firak or Manto, or whether it was a campaign on Dark is Beautiful, or the latest short film that we saw, Listen to Her. When Nandita speaks, we all actually listen. So, with that, welcome to both of you. It's obvious by
Thank you.
admire you, but welcome to this conversation today.
Thank you, Nagma.
Nandita, if I have to begin, with you, we just saw this film, and in the early weeks of the pandemic, I remember feeling very agitated about news that had slowly started trickling in about violence, and not only from the Indian community but also international news. US,
Yes.
in our minds, are very progressive societies. We were hearing just like shot up reported cases, and I think in the UK there was also websites were being
Yes.
50% more, according to a UN report.
France, even very progressive societies like France and UK, yes. There were many
Absolutely.
stories coming in.
But उस time पे क्या है, in India, we were consumed by the food crisis, by the migrant crisis, and women, even in photographs, were not visible. But at that time, your film came. I think I saw it around the last week of May, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So tell us what actually pushed you into doing this. What motivated you?
Actually, I mean, the images of the migrant workers trying to go back home was what was sort of most disturbing. But there was so little that one could really do because we were stuck in our homes. There was nothing that one could, whether creatively or in any possible way, other than trying to tweet and talk about it or donate money to various organizations. There was very little that one could really do. Then all these stories of domestic violence, overburden of work. I read, in fact, a big article on how women are just sort of overburdened by work. And I wanted to bring these two aspects because we thought being at home and looking at all these migrant workers, we were feeling guilty almost being at home and safe. And then I thought, but even stay home, stay safe is ironical for those who are being, who are living with their perpetrators of violence, who are being beaten up at home, the women, the children who are being, subjugated to all of this, and the women who have suddenly been burdened with so much work, with family, and if they're working outside. And I really realized that when we say working women, actually every woman is a working woman. Otherwise we are also sort of falling into that same thing that because it's unpaid work, it's not work. It's still a lot of work. So I think it was just this muddle of all these emotions and wanting to address something that you cared about. And in films, you can seldom be spontaneous because it always requires a lot more money, people, etc. But I think on an impulse, I wrote this script. And next day I just shot it, and with literally nothing, with just my iPhone and not even a tripod to put that iPhone. So it was quite chaotic. And I have all these voices that you see in the film, like of the husband, of the cop, bell ringing, the cooker whistle. I didn't have any of it, so I had to imagine all of that and direct myself, direct my son, direct my cook to hold the phone. So it was crazy, but I think in some ways it just felt like I needed to respond to something that was happening around us, and so much was happening. So yeah, I mean, that's how this film was born, literally on an impulse.
No, but your point was so right. I've spoken to a range of women, some working, some not, some from different classes as well. But the little things that were there, like the voice of the husband, the son playing around, I think the mangoes coming at the time. There was a cross-board an empathy and an understanding that those instances drew, because no matter who we are, we are bound by the same experiences.
And across class, this was there. I mean, when I put it on YouTube, there were so many women. It was not about I like the film or not like. It was about sharing their stories.
Yeah.
You know, I in fact ended up giving these numbers. I started collating all these numbers of helplines and various organizations that are working against domestic violence. And suddenly, you know, I in fact took the help of many of these organizations, put that up on my YouTube, and so many women shared their stories and related to this overburdening of work and also abuse. So I think it is, and that's why it's called a shadow pandemic. It's not for any less reason that it's called that.
Absolutely. No, I'd like to actually bring in Anju here. Anju, the film spoke to us, evoked a lot of empathy, and which in itself is a huge feat. But we have to hear from you, who represents the police force, the law enforcement. One is, as I understand, there are laws and infrastructure that are in place to actually help. How many citizens really know what to do? We can actually take this opportunity to bring that out, because I don't think that awareness is there of what one, if coming face to face with violence or watching someone endure it.
Thanks, Nagma. Actually, today I'm just representing myself, and I'm just happen to be a cop. Okay, so I'm not representing anybody officially. Let me put that straight on record.
Ji.
I get a memo after I finish the show. It's important. Now, I want to say something about pandemic because before I come to this particular lovely film that Nandita has made, excellent film. I see what has pandemic done. I will take a philosophical view, right? Pandemic has actually thrown everybody off the hook, off the table, or whatever you like to call it. I think the entire society, entire humanity has got a big jolt, because pandemic has changed the way people had organized their lives, whether they were good, whether they were bad, or they were ugly, right? Even the lives that were good and very good have also faced a lot of trauma and a lot of inconvenience and a lot of stress, right? So
completely.
Right, so there is a class of people, individual, I would say, whose karmic account was very good, and because of which they did not have abuse or domestic violence or, all sorts of abusive environment, right? But pandemic has kind of created so much stress and anxiety and fear and worry in people, not just because people, because of livelihood options, because of, restriction of freedom. I think it has kind of put a lot of worry and fear and anxiety in every heart. It has brought it out from there. So even those who are not in abusive situations were definitely are in a situation where people were now carrying a lot more stress, lot more anxiety. There may be people from your, mine, or Nandita's background who do not live in abusive environment, right? But because of the very nature of this calamity, the stress and the anxiety levels have gone up, right? Which may not have led to physical abuse, but definitely to more arguments, definitely to kind of depression, or definitely to other things that I have been noticing.
Yeah.
Second, in situation which were not so good, where women and girls were already at a receiving end, violence, abuse, whatever, that has become more pronounced, as we know. However, what I want to say that till today in India, I haven't come across a study, empirical data which says that during pandemic or during lockdown, this is what has happened in particular state or across India. I haven't seen that. I have a limited experience because I headed this Women Power Line 1090, which is a very unique women power line in Uttar Pradesh. And I moved out in June. So I was there for, 2-3 months of lockdown period. There, we tried to look at the data. If during lockdown, the abuse reporting had gone up. Very, very interestingly, it hadn't. It hadn't gone up. Yeah, it hadn't gone up, number one. Now, which may be because people don't have options. People don't have access
They're not reporting.
Or they cannot, talk in front of the their own abuser. It could be anything. But I would still say the hard data didn't suggest this. In fact, the wife beating and the abuse reporting started coming in when the liquor stores were open. That is where it started coming in.
Okay.
That is where the data started going up slightly. And before we could collect the data, I had already handed over the charge. I had been there for 2.5 years. So this is one part. I really wish we could have an empirical study, because without empirical study, we will not be able to quantify it. There is anecdotal evidence, like Rita has shown in her film, and there is anecdotal evidence coming from all quarters. But empirical evidence is something that we need to really generate. I think that's very important. And empirical does not mean that we go to everyone in the population. We know we'll use a statistical model. So that's something I really feel we should be doing it. Something that some of the Western countries are doing. Now,
Indeed.
coming to the laws, well, I think the Indian laws are very strict when it comes to violence against women. There are loopholes only when somebody wants to twist the laws. If I don't want to apply the law correctly, then I will twist it as per my ingenuity. But if you say if there is any problem with the laws and the procedures in India with regard to crime against women or domestic violence, I would say no.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
The framework is pretty robust. In fact, at times it is so robust that the other side, if a woman is playing false, she can abuse it. It is so robust. Now, having said that, it is one thing to have the laws and the framework, it is quite another to deliver justice. Because delivering justice requires many layers of the criminal justice system to operate optimally. And the first step of that is the access to a victim. The point that, again, Nandita's film highlighted. How would somebody who is in distress, call or contact, and how? Like this lady contacts Nandita. Why? Because I think that's the only phone number she could probably get hold of. And she's telling her story. Right? So, कि कोई मेरी मदद कर दे. Let somebody help me. And from my long years in police experience now, over 30, what I've seen is that in our society, the people in distress call three kinds of people. One, the family or the friends. Secondly, informal structures. There are many informal structures in our society, right? Village में elderly लोग हैं या पंचायत है. In blocks, people call their block pramukh or whatever. And the third is institutions. Right? So Indians have a mindset to go to all these three mechanisms when they have distress. Now I will quickly tell you about police thing so that you can, about government so that you can move on. There are helplines. Like this women helpline in UP 1090, where last year we received 30 lakh calls. And before that, 20 lakhs calls, right? So 30 lakh calls does not mean that all 30 lakhs were complainant. They were repeat complaints. They were repeat complainant. A lot of people come only for inquiry because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You also tell them कि भाई ये काम आपका यहाँ से होगा, आप यहाँ चले जाओ. Now, women, because it's not easy for women to access the state machinery anywhere in the world, I would say. So helplines come in very handy. So this is one local example of UP. Then you have helpline like 181, which is one of those who contributed to I think Nandita's film or endorsed it. I don't know the exact status. 181 is pan India, and it is being run by Ministry of Women and Child Development. So one can call 181 and can get a variety of services like temporary shelter, medical aid, legal aid. All this can also be achieved from there. Then you have a police helpline, All India, which is called 100, control बोलते हैं, जो 112 हो गया है. Now it is called 112. So even on 112, a lot of women call when they are in distress.
Yeah.
So like this, there's 10998, which is not government, it is quasi-government, it is a child helpline. So these helplines are your first point of access into the system, into an institutional mechanism to register your complaint or to get to speak to somebody who will give you a sound advice.
Yeah.
right? So I think I'll leave it at
No,
that.
that is that. Nandita, if I come back with this, like this is some information that I can safely say most women even don't know.
Yeah.
It's because so many times we get calls, just like Anju has said, from friends who would say, can you refer a lawyer or can you refer an NGO who is
Yeah.
my friend who's being beaten up right now. There is also a huge number of years and months and sometimes days that have been endured by this person before she has accessed her friend who is then clueless. What do you think about this state of awareness? I mean, these are like simple things that we as women absolutely are unaware of. And that's quite a shame because, like Anju says, we do have laws of the land, but it's about how our
Yeah. So I think there are two things. One is when we have the laws which not being implemented because the mindset is very patriarchal, the mindset is traditional and feudal. So to change that is going to take time. And a lot of the onus of that change has fallen on women. Like I feel right from my college days, I've been going to these women's marches, talking about gender-based violence, etc. But we've never really included men in
yeah.
those conversations, at least not enough. So the gap is huge. So there are more and more women are speaking up and wanting to change their lives or their circumstances, but the men are not being involved, so they are really clueless. Even
Yeah.
if they are being abusive, even if they are being patriarchal, and I'm saying across board, not just in the uneducated and the low class, but I think in across board they are not really participating in this. They are not thinking of it as a human rights issue. It's still seen as a women's issue.
And as a
um,
family issue, घर की बात
That of
a lot of
course, वो
times.
तो खैर मतलब the fact वो तो बहुत लंबी लड़ाई थी when domestic violence could actually become a public domain issue, could become a societal issue, and could come out of the four walls and say, it is not a personal matter. It is as much a human rights violation or as much a public matter. It's my concern if you are beating up your wife in your house. So that in itself, I think we have to sort of be thankful and grateful to all those feminists and women's organizations who fought for domestic violence to be sort of be recognized as illegal and as a societal abuse. So but also this kind of awareness, I think women have always been on the side. Just those issues have just not come up. I mean, there are so many ads for from soap to car to cement to everything that you can think of, and there are so few public service ads that at least give you this basic information, and there the onus is on the government. I mean, the NGOs are doing what they are doing, but nobody really has the bandwidth like the government to spread these kind of messages.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when they do, often the government ads, if we remember those films division ads, itne boring hote the that you almost switch off. If a soap can be a soap or a car or a cement or whatever can be sold in such an attractive way,
Yeah.
why don't we make interesting public, like I have tried to make public service ads on interesting like topics that I feel people need to know about, but there
Yeah.
are really no takers. Nobody wants to fund them, so
No,
it's
so
very
actually,
difficult.
you are segueing into the next question I reserved for you, and this is a question I asked you in different forms, in different places, but I'm asking you again because this needs to be answered again and again. There are many
Yeah.
issues. There are many celebrities, and like you just rightly said, people do make content to serve the public and what they assume the public wants to hear and see. You have repeatedly been challenging that. You have always picked up stories that were difficult to say, but you did. Or like I said, whether it's for what is the responsibility of a celebrity, and how come there are such few people like you who actually do this? Because I'm sure there's a long fight in even making sure this makes it to the viewing table.
Oh yeah, there is always a fight, and it's still tough. In fact, a lot of my friends from the industry, or even my people who represent me, they always say that why don't you do ads? What's the problem? And I feel like I don't even have the bandwidth to endorse the things I really want to. Why would I endorse a something that actually nobody even needs. You're thrusting people with more and more consumerism,
Yeah.
and not really talking about it. In terms of responsibility of celebrity, I think I'm also a big champion of freedom and freedom of expression and freedom of space, which anyway is under so much threat these days.
Yeah.
So I think it's not for us to say that this is what you should do. It's finally everyone's conscience and what they think is important. We
Yeah.
can only wish that people who have a large area of influence, or can make a difference because of what they do and what they say, would participate in it. It's kind of a wishful thinking, but beyond a point, I think people who have those that power to influence, they have to ask themselves how to get engaged, because there's no dearth of issues, there's
Yeah.
no dearth of messaging that is required, and people like Anjuji are doing what they're doing on the ground, but we all have to work in tandem. How do we help someone like her to kind of at least spread this word? You may have that line, that helpline, but I'm sure it would help if more people got to know.
Got to know about
And
it.
we all need each other, and that's where someone like you, Nagma, and Edelgive comes in, where you're trying to connect those dots so that we can all sort of work more in tandem. But it is a huge challenge. The other
Yeah.
thing, the small thing that I just want to put out there, is that through the film I also wanted to address that while there is physical abuse, there is also a lot of psychological abuse. And we often think that this kind of an abuse, the physical abuse, is because it's more overt, it's more in a certain class, that our kind of people don't really need this kind of messaging, or that we are not really grappling. I think the way women bond is really, that's why, across class, because
Yeah.
we all need each other. So even in the script, I was grappling with that, because I didn't want to show that, oh, just because you're educated and you're more affluent, that you are the only one who needs who can help. You also need help. And somewhere that woman who called her for this domestic violence issue that she was grappling with actually also helped in recognizing this woman, the woman that I play. It also helped that woman to recognize that there was a psychological abuse, that this
Yeah.
overburden of work that she had kind of internalized as this is the thing to do is not something that she also has to go through. At the end, the fact she tells her husband to just open the door. I mean, so many women came up to me and said, "Oh my God, that sounded totally like my scenario. I'm going to tell my husband to do things." I mean, even small things like this, in an educated, affluent
Yeah.
class, we're still grappling with. So I think we still have a long way to go. So in every possible way, if we can, keep talking about these issues. And that's why I also wanted to call it Listen to Her.
Yeah.
Because we're always emphasizing on we must speak up. Of course we must speak up. But it's easier said than done for women, for who are conditioned to keep quiet. There is such a culture of silence that till we don't begin to listen, people are not going to speak up. And this is true
Yeah.
of every issue. So
Yeah.
I think more and more of us have to listen, so that more and more women can speak up.
That is, thank you. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
Anju, last question to you, really more from a systemic place, because you've always consistently never spoken of a band-aid solution. Even your Das Nabbe was, when you spoke of, thinking of the perpetrator and the girl who was being harassed and the family. So you always looked at the system that ensures something happens or something can be prevented. What are the 2-3 things you would really want to leave us with as we log off from this conversation? As a society, we are playing different parts, whether as housewives or as house husbands or as working people. What do you think we have to do to make sure that we step forward and take responsibility?
I would share. Thanks, Nagma. I would share few points which Nandita made and you made. In the Indian context, I do understand the argument about human rights, societal rights, right? I understand. What I have seen is that it is far more important to educate people on the legal rights, because this is something very, even somebody who is uneducated understands. The human rights, I don't think a large number of people understand human rights. But I know what human rights are. I understand. But in terms of what people need to understand and appreciate and they would appreciate is the legal rights. So I think the public awareness of the legal rights that people have and what is legally right and legally wrong, I have in my long careers have understood that it cuts ice with people. Right? So if somebody is beating a pipe and you say कि यार IPC की ये धारा लगेगी, you know, because you are violating the law of the land, you are committing crime. This is a legal right, right? Or it's her legal right to claim custody. Then people understand it better. Both
Then they
sides.
freeze.
Both sides. The victim also understands that I have the force of the law behind me, howsoever imperfect the system, the delivery system might be. So it is good for the victim, it is good for the perpetrator. It is good for anybody who wants to help. On the argument of human rights, I think only handful of people appreciate that and handful of people will come forward and they will always be branded as radicals. And the minute you call somebody radical, then it's a different ballgame altogether. So I always like to confine, whatever interventions I have designed and I will design and in my entire career, not just this, are always woven around the legal aspects. Right? So it is because I realize that itself is very powerful in terms of getting your message across, in terms of starting an intervention, and in terms of empowering the victim. Very important. So I would say this is the first thing. Second thing is there is Nanta also spoke about culture of silence, patriarchal system. Yes, there is these factors are very important, are very very important in terms of understanding why the implementation of safeguarding of the legal rights is an issue here. Right? This is one kind of across the board, not just women's rights, all kinds. But the point I wanted to make was that it is very important to give a hard look to the kind of society we are. Abhi, I spoke about 3 kind of mechanism we have. When we are in distress, we go to family and friends, we go to informal system, and then we go to the formal system. So a lot of people have been coming to police system seeking an informal solution. Mind you, when you come to police and you report a crime, or you say, "Bhai, pitai ho gayi, ya ye ho gaya, ya wo ho gaya," ideally, what police should do, or 181, or any of the government or the police station should do, they should, register a case or register what we call non-cognizable or whatever. They must start the legal process. And every legal process does not mean that you're going to, lock up everyone. Because there are other procedure laws that you need to take care of. You will not arrest everybody in every case. Or law ka intention. Okay. Now, but people come seeking, saying that, you show the power of the danda, show the power of your uniform, and bring the other side here. और आप बैठिए और आप पंचायत करिए. That means police, I think this is British legacy. I think it's a colonial hangover हमारा खत्म नहीं हुआ. उससे पहले राजे रजवाड़े नवाब थे. तो जो राजे रजवाड़े नवाबों की जो तरीके थे जस्टिस देने के कि भाई लाइए सबको दरबार में पेश कीजिए और सब हुजूर के सामने फरियाद दें और उसके बाद हुजूर आला जो बताएंगे कि कौन सही कौन गलत, वही हो गया जज, वही हो गई लॉ, चलो भाई करो सब. So I think that legacy हमारी historical has become a cultural legacy, and people have tried to try and approach the system. I'm not saying all, but I'm saying a large number of people approach the police system or the state system to seek informal justice or just seek justice informally. FIR ना करनी पड़े, right? गवाही ना देनी पड़े, कोर्ट न जाना पड़े, किसी और के धक्के ना खाने पड़े, कोई हमारे घर पुलिस ना आए बयान लेने, हमें वो सब ना करना पड़े जो एक्चुअली CRPC इस देश की कहती है, प्रोसीजर्स हैं पुलिस के, राइट? उसके बिना भाई आप समझौता करा दीजिए, वो करा दीजिए, हमारा सामान वापस करा दीजिए, राइट? एंड या इसको मुर्गा बना दीजिए या इसके 4 थप्पड़ लगा दीजिए, उससे आप एक अमला को लिखवा लीजिए, get this guy, both the sides to write that I will not abuse this woman again, and the parents are willing to send the woman back to that guy who may have thrashed her maybe 10 times, right? So this is what they come expecting from the system.
Hmm.
Now the men and women of the police system are also from the same society. And it takes years of training and supervision to actually change their mindset to understand that, by doing this, they are doing a disservice to the girl,
Hmm.
and they are also not discharging their duty. Right? So there are hidden aspects, or not, these are not hidden, I think they're visible. Come with me, in a burqa, and I will show you what is happening.
Hmm.
ताकि वो हमको ना देख सके हम लोग कौन है, आपको ये नजर आएगा. सो आई थिंक ये एक हमारा एक सोसाइटिकल माइंड सेट है, which is also, which is because the women have not empowered. The girls empowerment is very slow in India, right? And as Nandita was saying, and I have personally handled and heard and known through my career scores of women from affluent class, educated, professional women who have faced abuse.
Yeah.
For years, abuse, discrimination, call it what, and they have suffered in silence. Why? Because
They didn't know.
because they didn't want to talk about it in society, because the society, they didn't get support from parents, they didn't get support from peer. Then they have this thing, whatever, how people will look at me when I become a single woman, right? So especially young girls, young professionals have this fear. So there are many reasons as to why girls continue to suffer in silence, many times on their own volition, because that has become their mindset.
Yeah.
And only by listening to them, we are not going to change their destiny. So I think we require much more. I think there has to be a talk within a system, within a society, as to the way we look at these. So I think the internal discourse is most important.
Hmm.
When we start debating and discussing something openly, that is where all these things will come out on the table, and people will say, "हाँ यार, यही तो होता है."
Yeah.
क्या हम ये कितने नहीं करते हैं? अगर मेरे घर में नौकर ने कुछ चुरा लिया, तो मैं उसको पुलिस स्टेशन ले जाके कहूंगा कि इसको पीटो और जरा वापस करा दो आप. Right?
जी.
Because that guy has no evidence. He just suspects कि मेरे servant ने किया होगा. And because he has a connection with the local thana, or he's an affluent guy, he can go and say कि मेरे घर में हुआ, and the policeman will be made to think कि इसी ने चोरी की होगी. This is where the human right abuse also starts. I'm not saying police is in the clear. I think बहती गंगा में हाथ धोने वाला system है, right? But I think वो एक इंसान की सोच है जो कि हर profession में है. I'm not justifying, I'm not defending it, but all I'm trying to say, these issues require much deeper contemplation, rather than just looking for very quick fix, as you said. Yeah, band-aid solutions.
Yeah, but you have always resisted that. Whenever someone has, I've heard you again and again, always asking for more thought when we own up. And if I have to also summarize what I heard, what Nandita has done is something brilliant, where she put it right out there that this is it. Okay. But our response cannot be limited to just saying, "Oh my God, this is so sad," and ye kya ho raha hai, and why are men doing this, or why are not women speaking up? And that's doing disservice to what is required of us. And like we see both of you here, a celebrity used it to highlight the issue, because that was the core competency, that was what she could do best. And you are someone who's within the system, who's also consciously and always, and I see that consistently, been saying that there is a system, there is facility, but who's going to use it? And our responsibility as individuals, no matter where we are seated, is that we first become aware of the system and ensure that there is more discussion, so that we reach a solution that is merited to this person, instead of bucketing her as victim or survivor, or putting her in different slots and putting the onus back on her. So that is incredible to come out of just a half an hour conversation. And I'm so sorry to be closing in here, but any last words, or I would just really deeply thank both of you for the conversation to us that is so needed.
Thank you, Nagma, for having these conversations.
Thank you so much. I think these conversations need to grow and become deeper and deeper and more frank. And I think that is the way we make people think. and we make ourselves think. There's so many
Yes.
things I'm thinking about now.
Yeah.
I think that thinking is important. As somebody has said, thinking without reading is waste of time. So I think that reading here means the analysis.
Absorbing. Yeah.
Analysis, which is fact based, which is evidence based, which kind of comes from a very sound understanding. I think that is very, very important.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nandita. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.